The Lost Letter. Dear Pops, thanks for your letter. Too bad the prison blocked a lot of words out. What I got was that you're getting to go out with work crews to pick up trash on the highways. It must be weird being chained together like that and having guards with shotguns and such watch over you guys while you're just basically cleaning the roadside. I really like the part where you said that you all go up to the highway right next to the river and that you always take a minute from sweeping or whatever to look out over the river waves and see the sun reflect on the swelling banks and feel the breeze. So that was really a good idea where you said if after work someday I walk to the far end of the Walmart parking lot on Delaware Avenue where it comes up on the river that I'll be looking out over the same Delaware as you seen earlier. And I'll be seeing the same waves and the same currents and the same mists and breezes playing off the wave tops, hearing the same sounds and tasting that little bit of sea salt that the river has from its trip out to the ocean. I'ma do it. I miss you, Pops. If I go down that parking lot where it looks across to Camden on the opposite bank on the same day when y'all been out on the highway cleanup crew in your orange prison suits, I'll be able to catch up with your spirit at least. And I'll say all the stuff you used to listen to me carrying on about. How mad I get at everything and how sad and sorry I feel about other stuff. Remember? I ain't seen Mom or Dad at all for a long time, but Aunt Helen came down from the convent last week and helped me clean the place. So we scoured the joint from stem to stern, just like you always used to say. From stem to stern. I kept repeating that, and then Aunt Helen and me was laughing about the way you used to say it and about how you talk and your Irish accent. From stem to stern, like a pirate or something. Ha ha, don't get mad. I miss you, Pops. Love you, Shawn. Friday evening, the library. Shawn. Did you see a piece of paper with writing on it, like a letter? Librarian, curtly, not looking up from her desk. No. Shawn. I was in here after work last night trying to do my homework and wrote the letter and now I can't find it. Librarian, still not looking up. Why don't you check around the table where you always work? Shawn. Where's the maps of Ireland? They say my grandfather might have to go back there even though he doesn't want to. Librarian, still looking down. Geography, under Great Britain. Shawn, with an angry edge. It's not in Britain. Librarian, looking up. Yes, it is. Aisle 4, shelves 10 through 17. Clearly labeled Great Britain, including Ireland, Scotland, and Wales. Shawn, pointing to the green tattoo on his forearm. Just remember, 26 plus 6 equals 1. Librarian, pointing finger at Shawn. Quiet, and that's terrible math. Shawn, no, and you don't understand. Franklinville High School. I found the letter on the floor in the back of the classroom while grading papers and cleaning the room on Friday evening. That's when I read the letter and realized that Shawn must have dropped it that day during class. Shawn was new in our school. His body language was terse. He seemed beaten and bent inward. He refused to make eye contact. He never talked in class. When I asked him why he slept on his desk every day, he said that he worked most nights and that he was exhausted all day. That's all I knew about Shawn. But then I looked at the address on his file and recognized that the neighborhood where Shawn lived was near the block where my grandfather owned a bar many decades ago. Jimmy's Pub opened at 7 in the morning for guys coming off of the night shift at Stetson Factory and for other graveyard workers. And some 7 a.m. drinkers were guys on their way out to jobs they hated in Center City offices, and then there were the fellas who had been out all night drinking and wanted one last shot before they did their daily perish. Cousins right off the boat from Ireland lived above the bar. I worked there while I was going to college and after. It was a hole of a place where I learned the codes of the Belfast streets thousands of miles away, streets that I'd never actually seen. Whatever you say nothing. I could imagine Shawn's grandfather, his aunt, and the way that prison must have shaken them up and spit them out emotional wrecks, fractured by fear and by frustration and anger, fractured people living fractured lives. That weekend, I read the letter many times and wondered how Shawn would feel about my seeing his message to his grandfather. I put it in an envelope and wrote a simple note on the outside, found on floor of classroom. And then I noticed that I had planned for our class to read modern writers like Langston Hughes. And we'd been reading James Joyce's works in class. So I decided to begin on Monday with a meditation. I planned for us to read Langston Hughes' poem that begins, "I've known rivers." Before class, when I gave the envelope to Shawn, he tore it open and sat down immediately in one of the desks at the front, disclosing the letter's folds and smoothing out the page while he read it, running his fingers along each line like river waves as he read. Class started, and he looked at me, and I smiled at him, hoping to silently say, "Yes," with a smile. "Yes, I read the letter." Shawn hesitated, looked down, then looked up again and smiled back, nodding. Then I handed out a worksheet asking the entire class to meditate on the lines that Langston Hughes wrote as a young poet, traveling along the Mississippi River on a train headed south. "I've known rivers, ancient as the world and older than the flow of human blood in human veins. My soul has grown deep like the rivers." I played the music that jazz musician Gary Bartz composed to accompany the Hughes poem. I asked just one question beneath the poem's lines on the worksheet. As you read, how do you connect the poet's rivers to his soul? After class, Shawn. "Mister, thanks for finding the letter." Me. "I felt lucky to read it, Shawn." Shawn. "I'm not sending it because I just learned that my granddad's going to the prison's hospice, which means that he's very, very sick." Me, pausing, lump in throat. "He must be very proud of you. I think you should send it to him or give it to him when you visit him." Shawn. "I ain't got the time or the money." Me. "Still, he must be proud of you." Shawn. "I don't know if they're going to send him back to Ireland or keep him here 'cause he's so sick. My aunt told me about this hospice thing on Friday after school when she came down from the convent in Allentown where she works." Me. "The worst part must be not knowing what's going to happen, right?" Shawn, crying as he looked away, as if he were seeing the far shore of a river through his tears, and quoting the poem, "And my soul has grown deep like the rivers." Me. "It's quite a poem, Shawn." Shawn, tears drying. "I'll think about it at work. It's really good." Me. "Don't forget your homework," smiling ironically. Shawn. "I never forget my homework," smiling back ironically. Homework assignment. Translate the following passage from James Joyce's Finnegan's Wake into your words. Remember that this excerpt is taken from the end of Anna Livia Pluribel's section of Joyce's novel. Hint, the River Liffey in Dublin is the scene of this passage, all of which occurs not during the day but at night, deep in the language of a very long dream about all rivers. Monday evening, the library. Shawn, do you want to hear my homework? Librarian, I'm busy. Don't you work tonight? Shawn, I skipped work to do my homework first, then walk up to the Walmart parking lot to be on the river for a minute. Librarian, smiling, aren't you very organized, Shawn? Shawn, this guy from Dublin's book is all rivers. You want to hear my translation of his story about rivers? Librarian, yes, but quietly. Shawn, I'll whisper it. It's even better that way. Librarian, you are a very strange man. Have you been told this? Shawn, whispering, I can barely hear you with the waters of the river. The waters chitter, the bats flitter. Are you not going home alone? Think of the waters of the River Liffey in Dublin. Think of the waters of Lough Neagh near Belfast. I feel as old as that elm tree over there. This is Shawn's story. This is Seamus's story. Good night, grandfather. The farther away you go. Shawn means John. Seamus means James. Who were John and James sons or daughters of? Good night, Pops. Tell me another story about plants and rocks. Please tell me, beside the waters there, hither, like the Delaware River, there, thither, like the Liffey, the Shannon, the River Erne, the River Boyne, the River Foyle. Now I am with you beside the rivering waters, the thither and hithering waters of good night. Librarian, looking up, mouth open in astonishment. And you wrote that based on the passage in James Joyce's Finnegan's Wake? Shawn, nodding, smiling, agitated. And now I have to get over to the Walmart parking lot to listen to see the river and tell it what I can hear and telepath it all to my granddad who's up north waiting for the words to echo their way up and back to him. Librarian, you seem relieved. Shawn, of course. It's sad, but I have to say goodbye.